Alright, we've got two arrivals. That's the smile, so this is the top here. Can I find a little tab? There's a little tab. Whoop. Oh, okay. It looked a little potentially more risque or something. That, which I had for a long time on DVD. And presumably not on Blu-ray, but whatever. I'm talking about that while I'm opening this. Let's just get it open with. Ooh. Okay. So let's... Cool stuff. But let's put this one on the top. Combatants dispatched, or combatants will be dispatched. Art cards, ID holder, lanyard, and enamel pin. Let's open it by running the fingernail along there. I've been opening these things for a long time, haven't I? Well, I had to kind of double look because that almost looked like she wasn't wearing anything, even though I didn't see details that would suggest that would actually be the case. Let's get those set slightly aside. Take a look at more of these possibly combatants. I don't know if she is or not because I don't know the premise of the characters. Some of them look like they could be combatants or they could be bad guys. That kind of looks sort of like Chun-Li for some reason. Swimsuits. So my interest is waning a little bit just because I don't know what the contents of this actually are. I'm curious. Okay. This is DVD version. Okay, this is Blu-ray DVD. This disc 4 is DVD 2. Total of 12 episodes. I think, do we have a guy there? Hard to tell if that's a guy or maybe just a girl with a really pervy long face. Asian report. That didn't look like it was all artsy. There was actually a lot of stuff in there that looked very reporty. Here we have the Earn Major Evil Points with this limited edition. Regions A and B. English dub. Limited edition features include all this other stuff. Most of that other stuff being in here, of course. Sorry. I could feel that it had come off wrong. Okay, so this is that picture on the inside. That looks like maybe the same person. They don't look like they're wearing a swimsuit. So I think that might be a guy and this is a bunch of girls. Or is it that character? I don't know. I can't really tell. It's a really strange shape to have the face in. Well, that could be that character again. Or maybe each of these characters has like a handler or something like that. It's really difficult to tell. Just well, that looks a lot more like a guy. Looks kind of funny and entertaining. And then these two are the final two there. Let's see. What did this say? ID holder and lanyard. Which is this? And this is the enamel pin. Alright. I'm trying to think. No, I might not need to put these back in there, so I can just set those aside. Next up, the detective is already dead. Which is a very fascinating name. It makes me wonder. Come to turn, she'll have to crack the case. Regions A and B. English dub. He'll have to crack the case. Is that him? Because this person here looks like their girl. And this looks like it's them, although they might not be. Maybe the chest looks round. That chest looks kind of round. I don't know. Because it's weird, because if he's the main character and she's not, then putting her in front and center like that is a little weird. But then again, you know, I guess it's not necessarily something the anime doesn't do. I mean, if Combatants will be dispatched as anything, you know, maybe it's, yeah, whatever. We'll just have to see. We have a disc 1, disc 2. With the shadowing making that look a little more like that. Okay, these two are paired in a lot of stuff, but is it just me, or it's not those two characters? So if he must do something. She's one of the characters on here, but that's a case. No, I see the hairpiece there. Is that her? I'm not sure what's exactly is being advertised here. Oh well. YashaHime, the Princess Half Demon. Princess Half Demon. Sorry. You know, this is more content in the continuation of the Inuyasha universe stuff. Okay, I see a region A there. Not sure what else. You know, we'll take a look inside. Like I said before, you know, I'm kind of interpreting it as this is region A. So is this Blu-ray only? Because I think there's a DVD version as well. This is part 2. No, this is season 1. Come on. Part 2, disc 1, disc 2. Maybe I'm supposed to also have a DVD version. And I thought this was a combination, but it's not. Oh. This is one of those things. That's actually pretty cool. I'm going to put that on my shelf of things like that. Well, this might be good because next week's release was looking... Was this not inside here? This one probably was not. These probably were. This is probably a poster of something. And I'll be holding it sideways like this. Just to get the peek at it. But I think that's on the inside like so, and this is on the outside like so. Alright, yeah, because next week's already looking a little sparse, so if I missed out getting the DVD version of that, well cool, that's something else for me to get. We got Girls High Complete Collection on Blu-ray. And nothing here definitely struck me as definitely bad, other than the fact that I read that it's 13 and older there. Which, you know, I didn't process immediately as only 13 and older, but I was like, what if it's still some sort of naughty thing that's just been censored somewhat? I don't know. Don't ask the brain why it brains. I think that says it's region A. This looks familiar. I mean, this kind of does too, but I can't help but think this was definitely on the artwork. Actually, was this dubbed Japanese with English subtitles? So, subtitle only. Just trying to decide if that was a Digicherry or Digicarrot cosplay or not. Definitely kind of resembles it. That person is a bunny ranger in the back. Okay. And then last but not least, Gundam something. I see a Gundam V narrative. Oh, okay. Gundam V narrative. Sorry, this plastic's being a little annoying. Great. Alright, well, we've got the one disc. And what can I say about it? That looks like region A. That looks like audio. Come on, camera, focus. Japanese. So this is Japanese with English subtitles. Does it even have English subtitles? Probably, because I got it from Amazon, but I don't know. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright. So there's a lot I watched. Interestingly enough, if you were curious what I would be thinking about Uncle from Another World, I forgot to watch that. Mostly because I think at some point I queued up because last week I queued up a lot of stuff to watch from Crunchyroll, and I guess I spent time catching up on it, and I've watched a whole lot of it. So let's go through all the stuff. And this isn't the order I watch things in, but we'll see what I can remember. We've got... Oh, I forgot to put that there. So we've got Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train arc, episodes 3 through 7. Pretty good. I'm trying to think if I have anything to really think about it. I really like some of the moments it had with some of the characters. It does kind of feel like it kind of hits things at you, but I think unlike other UFO table stuff that I've complained about before, I feel like the action was better, if only because, unlike a lot of previous stuff where it doesn't feel like there's any actual action or stakes, there's anything actually at stake. There's no actual danger or something like that. In this case, it felt like the danger was there. You kind of know, oh, your main character's going to get through this okay, but there's still stakes, there's still damage taken. It's, you know, quite an improvement in a lot of ways from a lot of other stuff there. It's pretty. It's clearly, you know, a movie edited into an episodic form. Works fine when you're binging it, I guess. And where we cut it off, it kind of felt like it was just fine to continue watching it afterwards. It didn't 100% feel like it was not a movie made into a TV series, but it at least felt watchable having seen it in 2 sessions like that. Next up, Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. I have in my notes that I watched episodes 5 and 6, although I thought I watched episode 5 by last time, but I don't have in my notes that I watched it. Because if I remember correctly, the problem with episode 4 was that it was just completely focused on, oh yeah, he's gonna have sex with the cute girl, and you know, that's not the reason I watch Isekai stuff. So for me, it was a distraction. I thought I did talk about episode 5 though, because after that is when they finally did some actual dungeon crawling between the two of them, and it was really great because, you know, it did some of that stuff where it's like she's commenting on what he can do to give us more insight into what he can do from the context of what other characters in the world are able to do, and he appreciates what she can do, and maybe his appreciation of what she can do comes from him not being of that world or something like that, but it doesn't feel completely disingenuous. It's definitely not disingenuous from him, but it's also not disingenuous from the writers per se. And episode 6, more of that, which is kind of nice. The big problem is it's a little slow. It doesn't really introduce that much variety, and for something that's maybe halfway through its first core, the fact that it hasn't introduced much variety and its thing that would maybe in theory have variety is kind of worrisome. Mostly, I mean, I say worrisome, but it's mostly like worried where we are, because the show, similar to the previous episode, feels like it's really doing things that it should have been doing in the first couple of episodes and not stuff that's, you know, taken this long to kind of get into. And it's kind of interesting, but it's just got its weakness in its execution. What can you do? You know, it's not rated the highest. It's not rated as completely bottom tier junk, but you know, it sounds like my opinion is right around the same as what other people's opinions on average are. Let's see, Overlord Season 4, Episode 4. A kind of interesting thing. I guess the main trick is, while it's interesting, and I think this is closer to some of the interesting that made it interesting before, for some of the similar reasons, even if it's coming from a slightly different angle, it's still, you know, Season 4 is a little more conservative than the previous seasons. I feel like there was conflict for which stuff happened. And I don't know how much of that maybe happened later in those seasons than I remember, but it still feels like this one's taking its time. It's okay. For people that were really into the show, I think it's good continuance building, so to speak. But at the same time, maybe it feels a little goal-less. And maybe the other seasons felt similarly. It's really hard to tell. Or maybe the conflict was a little more uniquely established there. I don't know. Let's see. Daily Life of the Immortal King, Season 1, Episode 5. It was that episode, and it was entertaining enough. But I am losing some of my steam on the show. It's not necessarily bad, but first of all, there's other interesting things I was more interested in checking out. And second of all, there is an aloofness to the show that kind of makes it where the really interesting things it does do can just be taken a little more lightheartedly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that our stoic main character is I'd say above meh, but still maybe not the strongest option out there. Let's see, I have Parallel World Pharmacy Episode 4, good continuation from Episode 3. So talk about a good 3-episode introduction. Parallel World Pharmacy, I'd say, has a good introduction where it's like, okay, we kind of know where it's going to start going after the end of that 3rd episode, even though there were hints of it before then. It did a really good job of establishing that stuff. And Episode 4 continued that along and did take a good major next step, where I do want to see what happens in Episode 5. Fun show so far. Black Summoner, I have Episodes 4 through 6 noted, which makes me think I watched 1 through 3 for last weekend, and maybe 4 and 5 yesterday evening after recording the video, and then Episode 6 when it came out sometime during the last week. Entertaining stuff. It kind of established some things about our main character that are a driving force, but it does also kind of feel like I'm not sure if there's much of a direction to it. If there was anything about it that's still remaining interesting, it's the fact that he is an overpowered character, and they do find excuses for him to kind of do things that are relevant to that, while at the same time not blowing it out of proportions, which is what he doesn't want to do, right? He doesn't want it blown out of proportions. He kind of wants to stay on the down low, so to speak. And some of that stuff's been interesting. You know, I think some of the twists I kind of expected, but at the same time, you know, they were kind of neat. I don't know what else to really say without talking about details there. But I am kind of curious where they're going after Episode 6. It seems like a kind of funny thing. Let's see. Classroom of the Elite. So it's been ages since I watched Season 1. I did rewatch certain portions of Season 1 to remind myself of that stuff. I don't know. Maybe that was half a year ago. So, while I don't remember everything in crystal clear detail, I decided to just start Season 2 as it is. And,
I guess the rewatch of stuff a couple of whatevers ago did enough of a trick where I was able to pick up just fine where it is. I felt maybe I didn't entirely know which character was all with where, what their types were, but at the same time, the show plays with those tropes of those characters straightforwardly enough that you can pick it back up. And I'm definitely curious where it's going. I find certain things that our main character has done to be very intriguing from a main character perspective. Like, I want to see what he can do, because there's some things here that I don't remember them suggesting in the first season that are like, just like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And I don't want to elaborate too much on that. But, interesting stuff. And speaking of stuff that I am watching, so Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2 started. And, you know, I'm watching English dub versions of both Classroom of the Elite and Devil is a Part-Timer, so I'm not caught up to date on them. So only 3 episodes into Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2, which is being entertaining so far, but it's not the super entertaining that I remember the very first season as being. There's definitely some serious stuff going on. I don't remember the key stuff from this first season to have a very strong opinion on what's going on here, because some of that stuff I literally just don't remember. They're referencing it and they're continuing on it, but I guess at this point I'm already in season 2, so I'm fine with continuing looking at that. The only thing I found really notable about season 2, I mean, like, season 2 isn't necessarily bad. Season 1 was great and fun from what I remember. Season 2 hasn't really been great fun, but it has been continued fun, so to speak. And the main problem is they introduced this little girl character, and she's supposed to look cute, and when it sometimes feels cute, but for some reason, more often than not, she dips deep into the uncanny valley for me, and I don't find her cute. I find her actually kind of alarming and scary. That's kind of interesting, because most anime don't mess up that badly, so to speak. And that doesn't mean that they did something wrong, but I mean, like, mess up so badly in terms of synchronizing with me specifically. And since that's not their specific goal, maybe most people do find her cute, but yeah. It's still interesting. Just going down the list. Jobless Reincarnation. So there was another episode that came onto Crunchyroll. This one actually came out with the Blu-rays, and I think it's been around for a while. And it's a side story from some point in this series I don't remember. It's called Eris the Goblin Slayer, and it's referencing a part where the character Eris did say that, oh yeah, she went and did something related to Goblin Slaying. And it's showing us that, and it was a kind of nice revisit of that show and that portion of it. So it didn't have the neatness that was our main character, you know, for all of his goods and balances. It was about the character Eris, mostly, and I did forget that, you know, it actually had some really neat to watch action scenes. Now, to be fair, you know, because she's not really built up to be a, you know, big muscly man, they do something else with her. And in my headcanon, she can only do that because to some degree she's a little more superhuman than you would normally think. Maybe because of her training, maybe because of special stuff, I don't know. Because, you know, when you really get down to it, a lot of elements of it felt like they were trying to be kind of realistic, and if you're going to be realistic, then, you know, there's certain facts, such as whether or not the human brain can actually withstand forces of those magnitudes, even if self-inflicted, whether people could actually coordinate, react, and, you know, the big problem with a whole lot of stuff like this is, okay, so you're establishing that this female character can do it, but who's to say why male characters couldn't also potentially do it, and then be an even bigger problem. So she's supposed to definitely be above even that general level of concept. She's had a fire lit under her ass in many aspects in the show. Partially due to her personality, partially due to Rudius's interferences within her childhood. Interferences might be, maybe influences is the correct word. But, you know, I remember all this stuff and some of that sickly feeling from the end of the season. Not that something bad happened, but it's just so much. You kind of say, huh, to some of the stuff that happens there. But, you know, it was just nice to revisit. So what's the other show that I forgot to put on here? It's I forget what it's completely called, but it's another Chinese animation. Something about a 5,000-year-old herbivorous. I don't know if I can wrap my head around properly pronouncing it. 5,000-year-old vegan dragon. Who everybody thinks is the great evil dragon, and he will eat the sacrifice and defeat the evil king for them, or something like that. But he's really just a big ass wuss scared of bunny rabbits, who only eats vegetation. And I guess the premise is this girl that is part of this stuff that is mistaking him for this great powerful evil dragon ended up becoming kind of his disciple, despite what he's trying to do, I suppose. And it's kind of, I think, about their adventure. I think it's entertaining. I'm probably going to watch more of it. I just don't know how I'm going to mix all this stuff up. Especially since, as I said, in catching up on all these series that kind of made me scratch my head and get curious about them, I didn't watch Uncle from Another World last week. Oops. I think I already said that. Other stuff I watched. So, with my Twitch streaming friend, we watched some more. I just realized this was whatever. It's fine. With the Twitch streaming friend, she finished rewatching Stranger Things Season 2, and I finished rewatching it as well with them. And my thoughts really are just that Stranger Things Season 2 has neat ideas in it, has things that tried to explore that kind of were pointless, like the character Kali. She's fine as a character, but her inclusion in Season 2 is just like, it feels like a distraction. In fact, that's a problem with a lot of things in here. They've got important things that happen, but there's these other things that just feel like distractions. They don't feel like they're really building characters in a way that's important. And I think people noted that because as much as people like Season 4 Max, Season 2 Max is just girl. And so giving her a problem that she has to overcome, it means nothing. Like, yeah, that's the real problem with a whole lot of it. But that said, there's still, like I said last week, really nice things about it. I like the way everybody acted in there. Everybody's acting is great. So it's really just, maybe they were stuck with the writing. Because if somebody were to tell me that they had Stranger Things or ideas for Stranger Things planned out from Season 1 to Season 4, I'd say bull fucking shit, because Seasons 2 and I think also Season 3 is in that bucket as well. Their existence kind of contradicts that. Season 2 in particular shows that even though Season 1 ended at a place where if they just only had Season 1, that would have been fine. They had a stinger to make you want to watch more, but they didn't have to continue on from there. But Season 2 suffers from sequelitis, where, we have to wrap up all this stuff and do stuff with the things from Season 1 going over to Season 2, and we have to come up with new ideas. And again, some of the new ideas are really cool and spooky and stuff, but it's fractured. It's doing what it does. Need to rewatch Season 3 to get a kind of good big picture understanding of stuff, I suppose. But, not there yet. Season 2 is all that was watched. Outside of that, Dead by Daylight, I guess they've started the PTB for Wesker as the next killer. And he looks pretty cool. He looks like he controls differently from other killers. I think some people have kind of described him as being something sort of like a nurse mixed with a Demogorgon. That someone would be Otz, so that's probably stupid for me to say that. Anybody out there who's played Dead by Daylight probably has heard somebody else say it. It's like, Giga, you idiot, you're talking about Otz, not just somebody. And yeah, that's true, that's fair. I kind of find him interesting from a design perspective because he reminds me of the Terminator. And maybe he was kind of like that in the Resident Evil games that I never played. Probably Resident Evil 5. I've never even seen it. But, it's kind of interesting because some of the interactions feel closest to Terminator than anything else in Dead by Daylight so far. And again, there's just fun-looking things about his power. His music's kind of neat. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens when he comes out and what I end up doing with the game. In the interim, I am definitely highly invested in making sure I complete the Premium Rift, because I did spend $10 on it, so I should make sure I get game time in, and it gets me hiccups. It gets me blood points. Yeah. But stuff. Monster Hunter also came out with something this past week, and that's the August update. At least I think it was this past week, if not earlier. So, they introduced some monsters into the game. One new area, the Citadel, the Forlorn, not the Citadel, the Forlorn, whatever. That place. Good stuff. I've fought some of the new monsters. I think everybody knows what those are if you care about it, but some good blasts from the past in there. Just a handful of them, but some delicious stuff that the game has offered. I'm in love with my armor set as it is right now, and I'm not sure what else I would potentially add to it. Cool beans. I don't know that there's anything else I can think of to immediately talk about. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Y'all, have a nice week.